My daughter called to cancel my 55th birthday dinner. We're going to Vanessa's cooking class instead, Mom. She's making it really special for the family. I asked, what about the reservation I made for all of us? She paused. Well, you weren't really invited to the cooking class anyway. What she didn't know, I own the culinary school where Vanessa teaches, and the trust fund that's been paying for both my kids' lifestyles for the past decade. Hold up. I'm curious where you're listening from. And if this story spoke to you, make sure you're subscribed. Trust me, what I have planned for tomorrow is going to blow you away. I'm Dr. Cassandra Whitfield, and for 23 years, I've been the invisible architect of my children's comfortable lives. While they see their stepmother, Vanessa, as the warm, nurturing figure who entered their world when they were teenagers, I've been the silent financial foundation supporting everything from their college educations to their current careers, their homes, and even their weekend hobbies. The irony wasn't lost on me that morning as I sat in my home office in Millbrook Heights, staring at my laptop screen displaying the latest quarterly reports from Whitfield Holdings. The numbers were extraordinary, even by my standards. My investment portfolio had grown to $1.2 million, carefully cultivated through 15 years of strategic planning, real estate acquisitions, and business investments. Every dollar had been earmarked for my children, Amy and Jonathan, though they remained blissfully unaware of the empire I'd built in their names. Amy's call had come at 8:47 a.m., just as I was reviewing the final details for what I'd hoped would be a meaningful family celebration. I had spent weeks planning this birthday dinner, making reservations at Riverside Manor, the elegant restaurant overlooking Lake Harmony, where we'd celebrated every major family milestone since the divorce. The same restaurant where I'd announced my promotion to Chief Financial Officer at Meridian Industries 3 years ago, though that achievement had been overshadowed by Jonathan's excitement about his new apartment, an apartment I'd secretly co-signed for when his credit wasn't sufficient. Hold on, Mom. I know you'll understand. Amy continued, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when delivering news she knew would hurt but hoped to minimize. Vanessa has been planning this cooking class experience for weeks. She reserved the entire private kitchen at the Hartwell Culinary Institute, and she's going to teach us how to make authentic Italian cuisine. It's going to be so intimate and special. The Hartwell Culinary Institute. The prestigious cooking school I'd acquired 18 months ago when the previous owners faced bankruptcy during the economic downturn. The acquisition was strategic, Millbrook Heights was experiencing a culinary renaissance, and the institute represented both a solid investment and a way to support local businesses. The irony was delicious, though I hadn't tasted it yet. What about our dinner reservation? I asked, though something in Amy's hesitation told me the answer before she spoke. Well, the cooking class is just for immediate family. You know, Dad, Vanessa, Jonathan, and me. It's going to be really cozy, and Vanessa thought it might be awkward having too many people in the kitchen space. Immediate family. The phrase landed like a physical blow. After 23 years of raising these children, after funding their dreams and supporting their ambitions, I had been categorized as extended family, too peripheral for inclusion in intimate celebrations. The pattern had been developing for months, though I'd attributed it to natural young adult independence rather than coordinated exclusion. Family movie nights that happened without invitations being extended, holiday planning conversations that concluded before I was consulted, birthday celebrations for Amy and Jonathan where I learned about the festivities through social media posts rather than personal invitations. Vanessa had entered their lives 8 years ago when she married their father, Richard, my ex-husband of 15 years. She was everything I wasn't, warm and spontaneous where I was methodical and reserved, creative and artistic where I was analytical and business-focused. She taught cooking classes, painted watercolors, and had transformed Richard's sterile bachelor apartment into a cozy home filled with handmade decorations and the constant aroma of fresh bread. I didn't resent Vanessa's place in their lives initially. Divorce is complicated, and children deserve to love their step-parents without guilt or divided loyalties. I had focused on providing stability through consistent financial support, reliable advice, and quiet presence at every significant moment: graduations, job interviews, relationship celebrations, and personal crises. But somewhere along the way, my steady support had become invisible, while Vanessa's enthusiastic involvement had become central to their family identity. She attended Amy's gallery openings and provided emotional support during difficult relationships. She helped Jonathan navigate career transitions with encouragement and creative suggestions. Meanwhile, I provided the financial foundation that made their artistic pursuits and career exploration possible, though my contributions remained largely unacknowledged. The birthday exclusion represented a crystallizing moment when years of gradual marginalization became impossible to ignore or rationalize as coincidence. After ending Amy's call, I sat in the silence of my home office, surrounded by evidence of achievements my children had never fully understood or appreciated. The diplomas on my wall documented a journey from struggling single mother to successful executive. The awards from Meridian Industries recognized leadership that had transformed the company's financial operations. The investment certificates and property deeds represented a level of wealth accumulation that my modest lifestyle had successfully concealed from everyone, including my own family. My phone buzzed with a text message from Jonathan. "Sorry about your birthday, Mom. Maybe we can do lunch sometime next week. Vanessa's cooking thing is going to be amazing. She's been taking these advanced classes to surprise us." Advanced classes at the culinary institute I owned. That's when the first thread of curiosity began pulling at my consciousness. I opened my laptop and navigated to the administrative portal for Hartwell Culinary Institute, logging in with the credentials I rarely used unless reviewing quarterly reports. The interface displayed current enrollments, class schedules, and instructor assignments. There it was, Vanessa Whitfield, enrolled in the Advanced Italian Cuisine Certification Program. Tuition, $3,200 per semester. Payment method, scholarship recipient through the Excellence in Culinary Arts Fund. The scholarship fund I had established anonymously 2 years ago to support local residents pursuing culinary education. Vanessa's stepmother's education was being funded by the very woman her family had excluded from their intimate celebration. The morning was just beginning to reveal its layers of irony, though I hadn't yet grasped the full scope of what I was about to discover about my family's relationship with the empire I had built in the shadows of their comfortable, Vanessa-centered world. Before this day ended, everyone involved would learn that the quiet, reliable mother they had relegated to the margins actually controlled far more of their daily lives than anyone had bothered to notice or acknowledge. The birthday celebration they were planning without me was about to become the most expensive cooking class any of them had ever attended, though the real education would extend far beyond Italian cuisine techniques. We poured our hearts into researching and telling the story. If you're hooked, show some love with a subscribe. Now, where were we? The scholarship revelation was just the beginning. Once I started pulling threads, the intricate web of my family's financial dependence began unraveling with startling clarity. I spent the next hour diving deeper into the administrative systems of businesses I'd acquired over the past decade, searching for connections I'd never thought to examine. Amy's art studio rental in the historic Riverside district. The building was owned by Whitfield Properties LLC, the real estate investment company I'd established 5 years ago. Her below-market rent of $800 per month for a prime location was subsidized through what the property management company called a local artist support program, a program I'd created and funded anonymously. Jonathan's marketing consulting firm operated out of the Meridian Business Center, a professional complex I'd purchased when the previous owners defaulted on their loans. His competitive lease rate was actually 40% below market value, justified through my emerging entrepreneur initiative. He'd been so proud of negotiating such excellent terms, never realizing his mother was his landlord. The deeper I investigated, the more extensive the connections became. The coffee shop where Amy held her weekly art classes belonged to a chain I'd invested in through a private equity fund. Jonathan's favorite gym, where he taught fitness classes on weekends, was part of a franchise network I'd helped capitalize during their expansion phase. Even their preferred grocery store operated on land I'd purchased and leased back to the company under favorable terms. My phone rang, interrupting this archaeological dig through my own financial empire. The caller ID showed Hartwell Culinary Institute, specifically the administrative office. Dr. Whitfield, this is Patricia Kendall from Student Services. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time, but we have an unusual situation regarding tonight's private kitchen reservation. I had completely forgotten that as the Institute's owner, any large private bookings would require administrative approval, especially those involving kitchen spaces outside normal class hours. What kind of situation, Patricia? Well, Mrs. Vanessa Whitfield, one of our scholarship students, has reserved the premium teaching kitchen for a private family event this evening. She's requested access to our advanced equipment and ingredient supplies, but there seems to be some confusion about payment authorization. The irony deepened. Not only was Vanessa excluding me from a birthday celebration funded by my scholarship program, but she was also attempting to use facilities I owned to do it. What specific authorization is she requesting? Patricia's hesitation suggested she was navigating delicate territory. She's asking for access to our premium ingredient collection, imported Italian products worth approximately $400, and she wants to use the molecular gastronomy equipment from our professional chef program. Normally, these require additional fees or special approval. And she expects this to be complimentary? That's where it gets complicated. She mentioned that this was a special family celebration, and she hoped the Institute might provide these amenities as a courtesy since she's been such a dedicated student. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at Lake Harmony through my office window. My on-birthday celebration was being transformed into an elaborate production at my expense, without my knowledge, and certainly without my invitation. Before responding to Patricia, I decided to investigate further. I called my assistant, Dolores, who managed the coordination between my various business interests. Dolores, I need you to run a comprehensive report on any connections between our portfolio companies and these names: Richard Whitfield, Vanessa Whitfield, Amy Patterson, and Jonathan Whitfield. Certainly, Dr. Whitfield. Should I include indirect connections through services, vendors, or employment relationships? Everything. I want to see the complete financial ecosystem. Within 30 minutes, Dolores had compiled a report that revealed the staggering extent of my family's unconscious dependence on my business empire. The document read like a case study in how invisible financial influence could shape entire lives without recognition or acknowledgement. We poured our hearts into researching and telling the story. If you're hooked, show some love with a subscribe. Now, where were we?
Richard, my ex-husband, worked as a regional sales manager for Cascade Industries. What he didn't know was that Cascade Industries had been acquired by a conglomerate that I held significant shares in through my retirement investment portfolio. His salary increases over the past 3 years had been partially funded by dividend returns from my own investments. Vanessa's part-time employment as a freelance food stylist connected her to several catering companies and restaurants throughout the area. Cross-referencing those businesses with my investment records revealed that I held ownership stakes in 4 of the companies that regularly hired her, and 2 others operated in buildings I owned through subsidiary holdings. The pattern extended to seemingly random aspects of their lives. The insurance company that covered Amy's art studio operated through a broker who leased office space in my business park. Jonathan's car loan had been processed through a credit union I'd helped capitalize during the financial crisis. Even their veterinarian operated a practice in a medical complex developed by my real estate investment group. For over a decade, I had been the invisible hand supporting, subsidizing, and enabling my family's comfortable lifestyle, while they attributed their success to hard work, good fortune, and Vanessa's emotional support. My phone rang again. This time, Amy's number appeared on the screen. "Mom, I hope you're not too disappointed about tonight. I know you understand that family dynamics can be complicated sometimes." "Do I understand that, Amy?" "Well, yes, you've always been so practical about these things. And honestly, Vanessa has been working so hard to make tonight special for all of us. She even arranged for premium ingredients and professional equipment at the culinary school. It's going to be like a real cooking show experience." Premium ingredients and professional equipment that she expected to receive as a courtesy from the school her mother owned. "Amy, can I ask you something? Do you ever wonder how you've been able to afford your art studio in such a prime location? What do you mean? I negotiated a great lease rate because the building management company has a program supporting local artists. They really believe in nurturing creative talent in the community. And Jonathan's business space? He's just really good at finding deals. Plus, there are a lot of programs now that help young entrepreneurs get started with affordable commercial space. Programs that I had created, deals that I had subsidized, support that I had provided through carefully constructed anonymous initiatives designed to help my children succeed without creating dependence or resentment. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Amy explaining how fortunate their family had been to benefit from various community programs, business opportunities, and supportive local initiatives. She spoke with genuine gratitude about the network of assistance that had helped both her and Jonathan establish their careers, never once considering that this network might have been deliberately constructed around them. We're just really blessed to live in a community with so many resources for people pursuing their dreams, Amy concluded. Vanessa always says that when you put positive energy into the world, it comes back to support you in unexpected ways. Positive energy. The positive energy of a mother who had spent 15 years strategically building an ecosystem designed to provide opportunities and security for her children while maintaining their independence and self-respect. My phone rang again. This time, Amy's number appeared on the screen. Mom, I hope you're not too disappointed about tonight. I know you understand that family dynamics can be complicated sometimes. Do I understand that, Amy? Well, yes, you've always been so practical about these things. And honestly, Vanessa has been working so hard to make tonight special for all of us. She even arranged for premium ingredients and professional equipment at the culinary school. It's going to be like a real cooking show experience. Premium ingredients and professional equipment that she expected to receive as a courtesy from the school her mother owned. Amy, can I ask you something? Do you ever wonder how you've been able to afford your art studio in such a prime location? What do you mean? I negotiated a great lease rate because the building management company has a program supporting local artists. They really believe in nurturing creative talent in the community. And Jonathan's business space? He's just really good at finding deals. Plus, there are a lot of programs now that help young entrepreneurs get started with affordable commercial space. Programs that I had created, deals that I had subsidized, support that I had provided through carefully constructed anonymous initiatives designed to help my children succeed without creating dependence or resentment. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Amy explaining how fortunate their family had been to benefit from various community programs, business opportunities, and supportive local initiatives. She spoke with genuine gratitude about the network of assistance that had helped both her and Jonathan establish their careers, never once considering that this network might have been deliberately constructed around them. We're just really blessed to live in a community with so many resources for people pursuing their dreams, Amy concluded. Vanessa always says that when you put positive energy into the world, it comes back to support you in unexpected ways. Positive energy. The positive energy of a mother who had spent 15 years strategically building an ecosystem designed to provide opportunities and security for her children while maintaining their independence and self-respect. My phone rang again, taking in a new email just as a wealthier client booking details arrived. The moment of decision arrived at 2:47 p.m. when Patricia from Hartwell Culinary Institute called back, her voice carrying the nervous tension of someone who had spent hours trying to resolve an impossible situation. Dr. Whitfield, I'm terribly sorry to bother you again, but Mrs. Vanessa Whitfield has become quite insistent about tonight's arrangements. She's now requesting that we waive all facility fees for the private kitchen rental, provide complimentary access to our wine collection for the celebration, and assign one of our advanced students to assist with preparation and cleanup. I set down my coffee cup, considering the audacity of the request. My own birthday celebration was escalating into an expensive production at my facilities, funded by my scholarship programs, with my staff providing free labor while I remained excluded from the guest list. Patricia, what's our standard policy for scholarship students requesting special accommodations? Well, normally we require advance approval for any deviation from standard terms, especially for private events. But Mrs. Vanessa Whitfield mentioned that this was an important family milestone celebration, and she hoped we might make an exception, given her dedication to the program. Important family milestone. My 55th birthday being celebrated without me. I see. And how did she respond when you explained our standard fee structure?
Patricia's hesitation stretched several seconds. She seemed quite surprised that there would be any charges at all. She said she was under the impression that the Institute provided these services as a community benefit, particularly for families who support local education initiatives. The irony was perfect. Vanessa was leveraging my own generous policies against me, using the community benefit programs I had established to exclude me from my own birthday celebration while maximizing the expense and inconvenience to my business operations. Patricia, I need you to do something for me. Contact Mrs. Whitfield and inform her that the private kitchen rental, premium ingredients, equipment access, and student assistance she's requested will be provided exactly as she's asked. Oh, wonderful. She'll be so relieved. Should I process this through the scholarship accommodation program? No. Bill everything at premium rates directly to her personal account. Include overtime charges for the student assistant, premium pricing for the wine selection, and facility rental at our highest tier commercial rate. I want itemized billing sent immediately. The silence that followed was profound. Dr. Whitfield, those charges would total approximately $3,200 for the evening. That's more than a semester's tuition. I'm aware. Please process it immediately and require payment before any services are rendered. Within an hour, my phone began ringing with increasing urgency. The first call came from Vanessa herself, her usually cheerful voice strained with confusion and growing panic. Cassandra, there must be some terrible mistake. The Culinary Institute is claiming I owe over $3,000 for tonight's cooking class. They're saying if I don't pay immediately, they'll cancel the entire reservation. That doesn't sound like a mistake, Vanessa. It sounds like you're being charged appropriate rates for the premium services you requested. But I'm a scholarship student. I was told these kinds of community events were supported through educational outreach programs. Educational outreach programs are designed for educational purposes. Private family celebrations are commercial events subject to standard pricing structures. Her voice rose with desperation. Cassandra, you know we don't have $3,000 to spend on one evening. Richard and I have been careful with our budget, and this cooking class was supposed to be a special gift for the family. Can't you talk to someone at the Institute about reducing these charges? The moment crystallized everything about our family dynamics. Vanessa was calling me for financial rescue while simultaneously excluding me from the celebration that created the crisis. She wanted my money and my influence, but not my presence. Vanessa, let me ask you something. When you planned this intimate family celebration, did you consider that I might want to participate in my own birthday acknowledgement? Well, we thought you'd understand that the kitchen space was limited and we wanted to keep things simple and cozy. Simple and cozy, but expensive enough to require premium facilities, professional equipment, imported ingredients, wine service, and dedicated staff assistance? The conversation revealed the fundamental disconnect in her thinking. She had conceptualized an elaborate, expensive celebration while characterizing it as simple and intimate to justify my exclusion. The contradiction would have been amusing if it hadn't been so personally devastating. After ending Vanessa's call, I contacted Dolores with specific instructions that would reshape the evening's dynamics entirely. I need you to implement what we'll call the Transparency Initiative across all our portfolio companies. Effective immediately, I want every business entity that provides services, employment, or financial benefit to Richard, Vanessa, Amy, or Jonathan to send detailed notifications about the source of their favorable terms. All of them, Dr. Whitfield? Every single connection. Amy's art studio should receive notice that her below-market rent is being subsidized through the Whitfield Foundation. Jonathan's business center should be informed that his lease rates reflect special accommodations provided by the building owner, and Richard's employer should understand that recent salary improvements were partially funded through shareholder dividend distributions. Dolores paused, recognizing the implications. This will reveal your involvement in virtually every aspect of their financial lives. That's exactly the point. For 15 years, I've provided invisible support while they attributed their success to hard work and Vanessa's positive thinking. It's time for that support to become visible. The systematic revelation would begin within hours. Property management companies would send letters explaining rent subsidies, employers would clarify the source of unexpected benefits, service providers would reveal the actual costs of programs that had appeared as community benefits. My phone rang again 20 minutes later. This time it was Jonathan, his voice carrying the particular confusion of someone whose understanding of reality was beginning to shift. "Mom, I just got the strangest call from the Meridian Business Center. They're claiming that my lease rate has been subsidized for the past 3 years through some kind of family accommodation program. They want to schedule a meeting about continuing these arrangements." "That is strange, Jonathan. What kind of accommodation program?" "They wouldn't give me details over the phone, but they mentioned something about the building owner providing special rates for family members of significant investors. They kept referring to someone called Dr. C. Whitfield, but that doesn't make sense because you don't have any connection to commercial real estate, right?" The moment had arrived when my carefully constructed anonymity would dissolve, revealing the true architecture of my children's comfortable lives. "Jonathan, we should probably meet for coffee tomorrow. There are some things about our family's financial arrangements that we need to discuss."
What kind of financial arrangements? Mom, you're starting to worry me. The worry in his voice represented the first crack in a worldview that had never acknowledged the systematic support I had provided. By tomorrow evening, that worldview would require complete reconstruction, as the invisible hand behind their opportunities revealed itself to be their methodical, underestimated mother. The birthday celebration they had planned without me was about to become the catalyst for truth-telling that would reshape every assumption they had maintained about success, family, and the cost of excluding the person who had made their dreams possible. By 6:30 p.m., my phone hadn't stopped ringing for 2 hours. The Transparency Initiative had reached critical mass, and my family was experiencing what financial analysts would call a cascading revelation event. The systematic discovery that their comfortable lifestyle had been built on foundations they'd never acknowledged or appreciated. Richard called first, his voice carrying the particular strain of someone whose professional confidence had been shattered by unexpected truths. "Cassandra, I need to understand what's happening. Cascade Industries just informed me that my position and salary have been influenced by shareholder recommendations from major investors. They mentioned your name specifically and suggested we should discuss family financial coordination before my next performance review." I remained silent, letting him process the implications while streetlights began illuminating Lake Harmony beyond my office windows. "Are you telling me that you've been involved in my career advancement? For how long?" "Richard, how long have you been receiving those annual salary increases that surprised you because they exceeded company standards?" 3 years, but I earned those through excellent performance metrics and client relationship development." "I'm sure you did. Excellence and family connections aren't mutually exclusive, though. They're rarely discussed openly in professional settings." His breathing grew audible over the phone connection. "My God, Cassandra, what else? What other aspects of our lives have you been manipulating without our knowledge?" Manipulating. The word carried accusations that transformed 15 years of generous support into something sinister and controlling. Richard was reframing my anonymous assistance as deception rather than recognizing it as the strategic foundation that had enabled his family's comfortable circumstances. I haven't manipulated anything, Richard. I've provided opportunities. Whether you succeeded was entirely dependent on your own capabilities and effort. Amy called while I was still processing Richard's conversation, her voice trembling with emotions I couldn't immediately identify. Mom, something really strange is happening. The property management company just sent me a letter explaining that my art studio rent has been subsidized through the Whitfield Foundation for the past 4 years. They want to schedule a meeting about transitioning to standard market rates. What did the letter say specifically? It said that my current rent of $800 per month reflects a $600 monthly subsidy provided through educational and artistic development initiatives. Without the subsidy, my rent would be $1,400 per month, which is completely impossible on my current income. The mathematical reality was crashing into her carefully constructed understanding of her independent adult success. She had built her identity around being a self-sufficient artist who had earned her opportunities through talent and determination. Now, she was discovering that her independence had been financially supported by the mother she had excluded from her celebration of family intimacy. Amy, what do you think you'll do about the rent increase? I don't know. I can't afford $1,400 per month. I'd have to find a cheaper space, probably outside the Riverside district, which would destroy my client base and my connection to the local art community. Mom, this is going to ruin everything I've worked for. Everything she had worked for with invisible support that made her efforts sustainable and successful. The cruel irony was that Amy genuinely had worked hard and demonstrated real artistic talent. Her success wasn't fraudulent. It had simply been subsidized in ways that allowed her natural abilities to flourish without the financial stress that destroyed many creative careers. Amy, did you ever wonder how you were able to afford a prime location art studio on the income from part-time art classes and occasional commission work? I thought I was just really good at budgeting and finding deals. And Vanessa always said that when you follow your passion, the universe provides opportunities. The universe that had provided opportunities through her mother's strategic financial planning and business investments now rebranded as cosmic support for positive thinking. Jonathan's call came at 7:15 p.m., his voice carrying controlled panic that his business training couldn't quite manage. Mom, I just spent 2 hours on the phone with accountants, property managers, and business advisors. Everything is falling apart. My lease rate is being adjusted to market standards, which will triple my monthly overhead. My credit line was apparently guaranteed through family connections I wasn't aware of, and those guarantees are being reviewed for renewal. What did your accountant recommend? He said I need to immediately find alternative financing or consider downsizing my operations. He also suggested I speak with whoever has been providing these financial accommodations to understand whether they might continue under different terms. Jonathan's business acumen was forcing him to confront the mathematical impossibility of his current success without ongoing financial support. Unlike Amy's emotional response, he was processing this as a strategic challenge requiring negotiation and relationship management. Mom, I have to ask directly, have you been subsidizing my business operations? The moment of truth had arrived through Jonathan's direct question rather than Richard's accusations or Amy's emotional confusion.
Yes, Jonathan. For 3 years, I've provided below-market lease rates, loan guarantees, and various forms of financial support designed to help your business succeed without creating obvious dependence. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds before he responded with professional composure that impressed me despite the circumstances. Why? And why secretly? Because I wanted you to succeed based on your own merits while having the financial security to take risks and develop your capabilities. If you had known about the support, it would have changed your relationship with both the assistance and your own achievements. And now? Now you understand the full cost structure of your business operations and can make informed decisions about sustainability and future planning. Jonathan's analytical mind was processing implications that his siblings couldn't yet grasp. Mom, this isn't just about me and Amy, is it? This is about tonight's dinner, about Vanessa's cooking class, about the systematic way our family has treated you while benefiting from resources we never acknowledged. Finally, one of my children was connecting the dots between family dynamics and financial realities. The final call came from Vanessa at 8:30 p.m., her voice carrying defeat and the particular exhaustion that follows the complete collapse of carefully constructed plans. Cassandra, we need to meet, tonight, all of us together. This can't continue. What can't continue, Vanessa? Whatever you're doing to destroy our family's financial stability. Richard's job is in jeopardy, Amy's losing her art studio, Jonathan's business is collapsing, and the cooking class got canceled when we couldn't pay the fees. Everyone is calling you the source of these problems, but also the only solution. The moment crystallized everything about power, recognition, and family relationships. I was simultaneously the villain, destroying their comfortable lives, and the only person capable of restoring their security. They needed me to be both the problem and the solution, which revealed the fundamental impossibility of their position. Vanessa, I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply allowing natural consequences to occur when anonymous support systems are removed. Fine, whatever you want to call it, we need to meet tonight to resolve this situation before it gets worse. Where would you like to meet? Riverside Manor, in the private dining room. Can you be there at 9 o'clock? Riverside Manor, where I had originally made reservations for my birthday dinner before being excluded from my own celebration. The irony of returning to my intended birthday venue for a family crisis meeting was perfect in its symbolic completeness. I'll be there, Vanessa. The confrontation I had never planned to orchestrate was finally about to occur in the exact location where my birthday celebration should have happened, with all the family members who had excluded me now desperate for my presence and financial assistance. I arrived at Riverside Manor 15 minutes early, requesting the same private dining room where I had planned to celebrate my birthday with family members who had chosen to exclude me. The irony felt complete as I sat alone at the elegant mahogany table, reviewing financial documents while waiting for people who now desperately needed my presence after systematically dismissing my worth for years. They arrived together at exactly 9 o'clock, Richard, Vanessa, Amy, and Jonathan, their faces carrying the collective weight of a family whose comfortable assumptions had been shattered in a single afternoon. The confident, dismissive energy that had characterized our recent interactions was replaced by careful uncertainty and the particular humility that accompanies the discovery that you've been underestimating someone whose support you desperately need. Vanessa sat across from me, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by exhausted defeat. Cassandra, we need to understand what's happening and how we can resolve this situation before it destroys everything our family has built. What exactly has your family built, Vanessa? The question hung in the air while they exchanged glances, each waiting for someone else to articulate the uncomfortable truth that none of them had contributed the foundational support that enabled their comfortable lifestyles. Richard cleared his throat with the formal tone he used for difficult professional conversations. Cassandra, we've discovered that many of the opportunities and advantages we've enjoyed over the past several years were connected to your business activities in ways we weren't aware of. Connected how? Amy's art studio rent, Jonathan's business lease, my salary improvements, Vanessa's scholarship program, even the grocery stores where we shop operate on land you own. That's correct. Amy's voice carried a tremor that revealed how thoroughly this revelation had shaken her self-concept. But why secretly? Why not tell us about your success, your investments, your businesses?
Because I wanted you to develop confidence based on your own capabilities, without feeling dependent on family money or obligated to manage my expectations about your choices. And because, Jonathan added with uncomfortable insight, we never asked about your work or showed interest in your achievements. The acknowledgement from Jonathan represented the first step toward honest self-evaluation from any family member present. Vanessa leaned forward with the desperation of someone whose worldview required immediate reconstruction. Cassandra, what do you want from us? How can we fix this situation and return to normal family relationships? Normal family relationships. What would those look like, Vanessa? You know, family dinners, holiday celebrations, supporting each other through challenges, the way things were before today's crisis. You mean the way things were when I provided invisible financial support while being excluded from intimate family celebrations? When my contributions funded your opportunities while receiving no recognition or appreciation? The silence that followed carried acknowledgement that their version of normal family relationships had been fundamentally unbalanced in ways they had never examined or addressed. Richard attempted to salvage the situation through negotiation tactics that revealed his continued misunderstanding of our power dynamics. Cassandra, what would it take to restore the financial arrangements that were supporting our family? We're prepared to make changes to include you more in family activities. Include me more, as if my participation in family celebrations were a privilege to be granted rather than a basic expectation of family membership. Amy began crying with the particular grief that accompanies the recognition of profound selfishness. Mom, we've been terrible. We took everything you provided for granted while treating you like an outsider in your own family. Her tears represented the first genuine emotional response to the moral dimensions of their behavior, rather than focusing solely on the financial consequences they were experiencing. Amy, I don't need your grief. I need to understand whether you've learned anything from this experience that would change how you approach family relationships going forward. Jonathan set down the financial analysis with professional composure that impressed me despite the circumstances. Mom, I want to apologize not just for tonight, but for years of accepting benefits without acknowledgement, taking your support for granted, and allowing family dynamics that excluded you while depending on resources you provided. What specific changes would that apology suggest, Jonathan? Complete transparency about our financial arrangements, recognition of your role in our success, equal voice in family decisions, and, frankly, a complete restructuring of how this family operates to reflect the reality of who provides leadership and support. Finally, one of my children had grasped both the scope of the problem and the requirements for meaningful resolution. Vanessa's response revealed the difference between Jonathan's genuine growth and her continued focus on managing damage rather than accepting accountability. Jonathan's right, of course. We need to make changes. Cassandra, if we commit to including you in all future family events and giving you proper credit for your support, could we discuss restoring some of the financial arrangements? The transactional approach to family relationships continued even in crisis. Vanessa was still trying to negotiate terms that would restore their comfortable circumstances while making minimal changes to their attitudes or behavior patterns. Vanessa, let me ask you something directly. When you excluded me from tonight's birthday celebration, did you consider how that might feel to someone who had been quietly supporting your family's lifestyle for years? I thought you'd understand that the kitchen space was limited. You thought I'd understand being excluded from my own birthday celebration while you used facilities I own, funded by scholarships I provide, to celebrate with my children?
The mathematical impossibility of her position was finally becoming clear, even to Vanessa. I reached for the second folder in my portfolio, containing documents that would establish the new terms under which family relationships would operate going forward. Here are the conditions under which I'm prepared to restore financial support arrangements. First, complete acknowledgement of my role in your success, shared publicly with extended family and friends who have been led to believe your achievements were independent. Second, equal participation in all family planning and decision-making, with my preferences given the same weight as anyone else's. Third, formal monthly family meetings to discuss financial arrangements, business opportunities, and relationship dynamics, ensuring that support systems remain visible rather than invisible. Fourth, Amy and Jonathan will each contribute 10% of their income to a family emergency fund, demonstrating that financial responsibility flows in multiple directions within our family structure. The terms were non-negotiable, designed to ensure that family relationships would reflect the reality of interdependence rather than the illusion of independence that had characterized their treatment of me for years. Richard's response revealed his continued difficulty accepting the new power dynamics our conversation had established. Cassandra, those terms seem quite demanding. Family relationships shouldn't require formal contracts and financial obligations. You're right, Richard. Family relationships should be built on mutual respect, recognition, and appreciation. Since those elements were absent from our previous arrangements, formal structure becomes necessary to ensure accountability. Jonathan stood from the table with decision-making authority that reminded me why his business had succeeded, even with subsidized support. Mom, I accept your terms completely. This family has operated with fundamental dishonesty about where our security and opportunities came from. It's time for that to change.
Amy nodded through tears that now seemed focused on genuine remorse rather than self-pity. I accept too. I've been selfish and ungrateful, and I want to learn how to be a better daughter and family member. Vanessa and Richard exchanged glances before Vanessa spoke with resignation that suggested acceptance rather than enthusiasm. We agree to your terms, Cassandra. This family needs restructuring, and clearly you're the right person to lead that process. The birthday celebration I had been excluded from had transformed into a family meeting that established new relationships based on honesty, accountability, and proper recognition of contributions that had been invisible for too long. 3 months later, Jonathan's business had stabilized under market-rate lease terms while implementing efficiency improvements that actually increased his profitability. Amy had secured a smaller but sustainable art studio and was developing client relationships based on realistic pricing rather than subsidized overhead. The Family Emergency Fund was growing through monthly contributions that had taught both children about financial responsibility and long-term planning. Most significantly, our monthly family meetings had evolved into genuine planning sessions where my business expertise was sought and valued, where financial decisions were made collaboratively, and where family celebrations included everyone who had contributed to making them possible. The quiet mother who had been excluded from her own birthday had finally received recognition that matched her actual contributions to her family's success and security. 2 more compelling stories are just a click away. If this one drew you in, wait until you see what else we found. Ready to explore?